ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ Namaste, all of you. Welcome back to our continuing study of this great text, Vivekachudamani, authored by one of the foremost acharyas in our Vedic tradition, Adi Shankaracharya, and taught to us compassionately with a lot of dedication and single pointedness by our dear Guru Swami Paramarthananda. In the last capsule, we entered another important aspect of the spiritual journey, which is adhikaritvam. Adhikaritvam means competence or competency, a student's competence to study this Vedantic teaching, this divine Vedantic teaching. Qualifications, in other words, qualifications that a student must possess if he or she has to successfully traverse the spiritual path and make a success of his or her journey. We will read verse 14 and continue our discussion from where we left in the last capsule. Shankaracharya says, Adhikarinamaशास्ते फलसिद्धिर्विशेषतः उपायादेशकालाद्याः सन्त्यस्मिन् सहकारिणः. Success on the spiritual path depends essentially on a qualified aspirant. Factors like time, place, and other such means are but auxiliaries in this regard, are just auxiliaries in this regard. Qualifications are the ones that determine success on the spiritual path. To effectively climb the spiritual ladder, one needs to be qualified enough. Just as if I were to attempt climbing the Everest, I need to be qualified enough within quotes. I need to be ready. I need to be physically, mentally healthy. Even to reach Everest base camp, it takes a lot of rigor and demands good health and stamina. What to talk about moving up to the higher levels of the Everest and even reaching the peak. Imagine the kind of preparedness we must have. If this is the case in climbing to the top of Mount Everest, what would be the demands of a student to climb to the apex of Vedic wisdom? It doesn't happen that easily. In fact, the preparations, the wise say they must have begun several janmas earlier. Because in this janma, we are blessed by a Shrotriya Brahmanishta Acharya in the form of Swami Paramarthananda, whose students we are blessed to be. So, our preparation just didn't begin in this Janma. And if we take our spiritual studies seriously and commit ourselves to it, we can rest assured that under the guidance of Swamiji, we are sure to scale the pinnacle and achieve the Parama Purushartha, which is nothing but our own higher self. Adi Shankara is very clear that for this phala siddhi, to achieve moksha or the Parama Purushartha, adhikaritvam is visheshatah. That's where we left off in the last capsule. Let us now pick up the thread. We saw in the last capsule that in yesteryears, Vedanta was never taught publicly. Never taught publicly. Vedanta was called, is called, will ever be called Rahasyam. Someone asked Swami Chinmayananda, How come he is teaching the Upanishads and Srimad Bhagavad Gita in public? Isn't it considered to be rahasyam? And you know what Swami Chinmayananda answered? He said, even if I teach it in public, even if I make every Upanishad public, all the Vedantic teachings public, it will still remain a rahasyam. Because the message is so subtle, the message is divine, which is why Krishna says clearly in Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the 7th chapter, in the 3rd shloka, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit yatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschinmam veti tatvatah. It will continue to remain a rahasyam even though we are all now studying the Upanishads in public. It is now out in the public domain, not only in the form of classes but also in the internet. It doesn't really matter. It will still remain a rahasyam. It will open its lap only to an adhikari. Period. Nevertheless, Vedanta was called Rahasyam, is going to be Rahasyam, Rajaguhyam, as Krishna says, will always be a Rahasyam. In fact, Shankaracharya in his Sikshavalli Bhashyam mentions that one of the meanings of the word Upanishad is Rahasyam, a secret. The secret is right under your nose, and yet you don't grasp it. You ignore it. It's you. The secret is you, and yet we don't know it. That's the that's the brilliance of the teaching. The word Upanishad has several meanings. Swami Paramarthananda says one meaning is secret. One meaning is secret. Krishna in the Gita uses the words rahasyam, guhyam, guhyatamam to indicate the nature of the teaching, secret. This is why Vedanta was kept a secret. Why? Why? Because the success of Vedanta is solely dependent on how qualified the receiver is. How qualified a receiver is. If the receiver is unprepared or underprepared, if the receiver is unprepared or underprepared, not only will Vedanta fail, not only will Vedanta fail, but may turn counterproductive. But may turn counterproductive. Like in the story in The Chandogya Upanishad Ashtadhyaya, where Indra, the lord of the Devas, and Virochana, the lord of the Asuras, they both go to learn Brahma Vidya from Prajapati, from Brahmaji. While Virochana, the Asura Raja, after learning just a little bit of the Vedantic teaching, he thinks that he has understood what Brahma was communicating. And then he goes back elated, thinking that he's got the message. He didn't get the message, he got it only in a half baked form because he was either not qualified or underqualified. Being an asura that he was, he had loads and loads of asuri sampat in him, which is why in the 16th chapter, Lord Krishna deals with the Daivi Sampats and the Asuri Sampats with an aim to educate us about both of them and also to tell us in no uncertain terms that we must promote Daivi Sampat and eschew the Asuri Sampats. Because he says in that chapter, Daivi Sampat Vimokshaya Nibandhaya Asuri Mata. Whereas Daivi Sampat will lead you to moksha, Asuri Sampats will keep you tied down to samsara. So, if the receiver is unprepared or underprepared, not only will Vedanta fail or may fail, but may turn counterproductive. It does not matter if Vedanta fails, it must not prove counterproductive. It must not prove counterproductive. Krishna indicates this in chapter 3 and says, Na buddhi bhedam janayet ajnanam karma sanginam. Do not be the cause of confusion by talking about Vedanta among those who are attached to karma. Do not be the cause of confusion by talking about Vedanta among those who are attached to karma. The question then is, what should be taught publicly, broadcast widely? We will look at the answer to that question, to those questions, in the upcoming capsules. Hari Om.